بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Arabic numbers. Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this lesson, we are beginning an important topic in Arabic grammar, numbers. Many students think numbers are only for counting, but in Arabic, they are also a grammar lesson. They affect agreement, gender, idafa, singular and plural forms, and the shape of the counted noun. So this is not just vocabulary, it is also structure. At the beginning, the slide reminds us of two important words. The number itself is called adad, and the thing being counted is called madud, also known as tamyiz in this topic. So throughout this lesson, students should keep asking two questions. What is the number? And what is the thing being counted? That will make the lesson much easier. Now let us go through the slide carefully in the best teaching order. First big division on this slide. This slide really teaches three sections: numbers 1 and 2, numbers 3 to 10, and then the rule for 100 to 1000. So let us begin. Numbers 1 and 2. The slide says, for 1 and 2, the madud comes first, and the adad comes after. In other words, the counted noun is the mawsuf, and the number behaves like its sifa. That is why the slide says madud mawsuf first, adad sifa second, same as adad, meaning the number agrees with the counted noun like an adjective agrees with the noun. So with 1 and 2, the rule is very different from many other numbers. Here, the number comes after the noun and it matches it. Now let us look at the examples. For 1, the slide gives masculine, wahidun, feminine, wahidatun. Then the examples show rajulun wahidun, one man, imra'atun wahidatun, one woman. So students should notice the number follows the noun and agrees with it in gender. Then another Quranic type example is given, dinukum dinun wahidun. Your religion is one religion. Again, the pattern is the same. Noun first, then number as sifa. Now for 2, the slide gives masculine, ithnani, feminine, ithnatani, and again, the number follows the counted noun and agrees with it. The example shows mudarisatani ithnatani, 2 female teachers. So the first big rule students should remember is, with 1 and 2, the number comes after the noun and agrees with it like a sifa. That is the easiest starting point. Now we move to the second major section, numbers 3 to 10. Now the rule changes. For 3 to 10, the slide says, adad comes first. Madud becomes mudaf ilay. The madud is nakira, and the madud is broken plural. This is a very important shift. So from 3 onward, students must stop using the 1 to 2 pattern. Now the number comes before the counted noun, and the counted noun becomes plural, usually broken plural, and it is treated as mudaf ilay. Then the slide gives the most famous rule in this topic. The number is opposite to the gender of the madud. This is one of the most important rules in Arabic numbers. So, if the madud is feminine, the number takes the masculine form. If the madud is masculine, the number takes the feminine form. The slide even writes it clearly. Female madud, male adad, male madud, female adad. Students must really memorize that, because this is where most confusion happens. Now let us look at the number list first. The slide gives the masculine and feminine forms from 3 to 10. 3, thalathatun or thalathun. 4, arba'atun or arba'un. 5, khamsatun or khamsun. 6, sittatun or sittun. 7, sabatun or sab'un. 8. Thamaniyatun or thamanin. 9. Tis'atun or tis'un. 10. Asharatun or ashrun. Now the key is not only to memorize the forms, but to use them correctly with the ma'dud. Let us go through the examples. The slide gives thalathatu kururin, 3 periods. Then thalathu nisa'in, 3 women. Then thalathatu kutubin, 3 books. These examples help students see the pattern. The number comes first, and the counted noun is plural. Then arba'atu ashhurin wa ashran, 4 months and 10 days. Then khamsu nisa'in and khamsatu kutub. Then sittatu ayyamin, 6 days, and sittu ashjarin, 6 trees. Then sabatu jibalin, 7 mountains, and sabu samawatan, 7 heavens. Then thamaniyatu kutubin and thamani ashjarin. Then tis'atu ayyamin and tis'u layalin. Then for 10, asharatu kutubin and ashru sayyaratin. So the repeated classroom lesson here is from 3 to 10. The number comes first. The madud comes after it. The madud is plural, and the number is opposite in gender to the counted noun. The slide also mentions that the i'rab of the number declines, meaning the number itself will show grammatical change according to its position in the sentence. Then there is an important red note. 3 to 10 may rarely have mausuf, sifa, adad, and madud. This is pointing to rarer styles, but for normal teaching, students should hold firmly to the main rule first and not get lost in rare variations. Now the slide also includes 0. For 0, the form shown is sifrun, for both masculine and feminine. And the example says, the number of disbelievers who will enter paradise is 0. So for teaching purposes, students can simply remember, sifrun is used for 0. Now we move to the final major section of this slide, numbers from 100 to 1000. At the bottom, the slide explains a very important rule. In Arabic grammar, numbers from 100 to 1000 follow a more consistent structure. The words for 100, mi'atun, 1000, alfun, are used as singular nouns in an idafa structure, and the madud that follows them is always singular. And majrur, this is very important. So unlike 3 to 10, where the counted noun is plural, here from 100 and 1000, the counted noun goes back to singular and genitive. The slide gives the examples. Mi'atu kitabin, 100 books. Alfu rajulin, 1000 men. So students should notice the counted noun after mi'atun and alfun is not plural here. It is singular and majrur. Then the slide explains that for 200, the dual form mi'atan is used, still followed by a singular genitive noun. And for numbers like 300, 400, up to 900, the structure becomes compound, but the rule remains the same. The counted noun stays singular and genitive. That is a very important summary rule. So the final bottom line lesson is, from 100 to 1000, the adad-madud relationship becomes more consistent. The counted noun is singular and majrur. Now let us summarize what we have studied so far. We have covered 3 major number systems. First, with 1 and 2, the number comes after the noun and agrees with it like a sifa. Second, with 3 to 10, the number comes before the noun. The madud becomes plural and mudaf ilayh, and the number is opposite in gender to the madud. Third, from 100 to 1000, the counted noun becomes singular and majrur in an idafa structure. So a useful memory line for this slide is 1. and 2 agree. 3 to 10 oppose. 100 and above takes singular majrur. And another is, always ask, what is the adad and what is the madud? Now we come to next slide. And this slide continues our lesson on Arabic numbers. Earlier, we learned the rules for 1 and 2, for 3 to 10, and then the rule for 100 to 1000. Now this slide takes us to a new and very important group, 11 to 19. These numbers are very important because they follow their own special pattern, and students often get confused here. So we must go slowly and clearly. At the top, the slide begins with a Quranic example. Fan fajarat minhu ithnata ashrata aynan, meaning, then gushed forth from it 12 springs. This example is useful because it immediately shows us that the numbers from 11 to 19 are a special type in Arabic. Now let us go to the main chart. Numbers 11 and 12. The first part of the chart is about 11 and 12. The slide gives examples such as Ahada Ashara Taliban, 11 male students, Ihda Ashrata on the female side, and for 12, Ithna Ashara, Ithnata Ashrata. Now the rule box gives 4 very important points. The first point is, both parts of the number agree with the madud. This is very important. So with 11 and 12, the number does not follow the 3 to 10 rule of gender opposition. Instead, the 2 parts of the number agree with the counted noun. That is why, with a masculine madud, the number is masculine. With a feminine madud, the number is feminine. The second point says, these numbers are mabni, except for ithna and ithnata. This means that most of the forms are fixed, but 12 is special because its first part behaves differently and shows grammatical change. The third point says, the madud is singular and mansub. This is another very important rule. So unlike 3 to 10, where the counted noun is plural, here with 11 to 19, the madud goes back to being singular and mansub. The fourth point says, 11 to 19 are murakkab numbers. That means they are compound numbers made of 2 parts. So the first major lesson of this slide is 11 and 12 are compound numbers. Both parts agree with the madud, and the madud is singular mansub. Now the slide gives a wider rule, one common rule for 11 to 99. This section gives a very important general rule. The madud or tamyiz is singular and mansub. This rule is extremely useful. So when students move through numbers from 11 all the way to 99, they should remember that the counted noun is generally singular, mansub. The slide supports this with examples from the Quran and from Arabic usage. One example mentions the number of months being 12. Another example mentions Waqtara Musa qawmahu sab'ina rajulan, meaning, and Musa chose from his people 70 men. Here, rajulan is singular and mansub, even though the number is large. So this section is giving students a very helpful summary rule. From 11 to 99, the madud is generally singular mansub. Now we move to the next group, numbers 13 to 19. The lower section of the chart now shows the forms from 13 to 19. Here, the slide gives the masculine and feminine forms, thalathata ashara or thalatha ashrata, arba'ata ashara or arba'a ashrata, khamsata ashara or khamsa ashrata, sittata ashara or sitta ashrata, sab'ata ashara or sab'a ashrata, thamaniyata ashara or thamaniya ashrata, tis'ata ashara or tisa ashrata. Now the rule box gives 4 key points. The first point says, the first part of the number is opposite in gender to the madud. So here, from 13 to 19, the first part follows the old 3 to 10 style of opposition. The second part agrees with the madud. This is what makes this group slightly more complex. So students need to remember: first part, opposite gender; second part, same gender. The third point says again, the madud is singular and mansub. So that rule continues. And the fourth point says, these numbers are mabni. That means their forms are generally fixed. So the main lesson here is 13 to 19 are compound numbers in which the first part opposes the madud, the second part agrees with it, and the madud remains singular mansub. Then the left side of the chart gives another important note. Thalathata, ashara will remain the same in rafa, nasab, and jar state. This means these compound number forms are generally fixed and do not keep changing in the way ordinary, fully declinable words do. Now we move to the next slide, broad categories of numbers. The slide now gives a broad classification of Arabic numbers. This is very useful because it helps students organize the whole topic in their minds. The categories are mufrad, simple numbers such as 1 to 10, and also 100 to 1000. Murakkab, compound numbers such as 11 to 19. Ukud, multiples of 10, such as 20, 30, 40, up to 90. Ma'atuf, numbers joined with waw. This classification is important because later rules depend on which type of number we are dealing with. Then the slide gives 3 further notes. The first says, Ukud refers to multiples of 10, such as 20, 30, 40, and so on. The second says, ordinal numbers refer to order, like first, second, third. The third says, compound numbers are numbers from 11 to 99, made up of 2 parts. And then the slide gives examples. Ahadun wa ishrun, 21. Ithnani wa ishrun, 22. Thalathatun wa ishrun, 23. These examples are preparing students for the next slide, where the numbers beyond 20 will be taught more fully. This slide teaches us that the numbers 11 to 19 are a special and important group in Arabic. First, 11 and 12 agree with the madud, and the madud is singular mansub. Then, 13 to 19 have a mixed rule. The first part is opposite in gender. The second part agrees, and the madud remains singular mansub. Then the slide gives the wider rule that from 11 to 99, the tamyiz is generally singular mansub. And finally, it helps students organize numbers into the broad categories: mufrad, murakkab, ukud, and matuf. So a useful memory line for this slide is 11 and 12 agree, but 13 to 19 are mixed. First part opposite, second part same. And another is, from 11 to 99, the madud is usually singular mansub. Now we come to next slide, and this slide continues the numbers lesson from where we stopped. This slide takes us further into 21 to 29, the multiples of 10, bigger combined numbers, and then a short test to check whether the rules are becoming clear. So this slide is really a practice and application slide. Let us go through it carefully in the same order. Compound numbers, 21 to 29. At the top left, the slide gives the compound numbers. Ahadun wa ishrun, 21. Ithnani wa ishrun, 22. Thalathun wa ishrun, 23. Arba'un wa ishrun, 24. Khamsun wa ishrun, 25. Sittun wa ishrun, 26. Sab'un wa ishrun, 27. Thamanin wa ishrun, 28. Tisun wa ishrun, 29. Now the key point here is that these are no longer like 11 to 19. These are made of two parts, joined by wow. The first part is the unit number. The second part is the group of 10. So these belong to the Ma'tuf style, because one part is joined to the other. Ukud, the multiples of 10. On the right side, the slide gives the ukud, the multiples of 10. Ishrun, 20. Thalathun, 30. Arba'un, 40. Khamsun, 50. Sittun, 60. Sab'un, 70. Thamanun, 80. Tis'un, 90. The slide also says something very important. Adad declinable, madud mansub singular. This is the main rule students must remember here. That means the number itself declines, but the madud remains singular and mansub. So this is similar to the wider rule we learned for 11 to 99. The counted noun is generally singular mansub. The examples in the middle show that clearly. Ishruna kitaban, 20 books. Thalathuna ayatan, 30 verses. Arba'una leilatan, 40 nights. Khamsuna kitaban, 50 books. Sittuna kitaban, 60 books. Sabina rajulan, 70 men. Thamanuna kitaban, 80 books. Tis'una kitaban, 90 books. So the classroom rule here is, with 20 to 90, the number changes by i'rab, but the madud stays singular and mansub. That is a very important pattern. Then the slide gives the Quranic example. Falabitha fahim alfasanatin illa khamsina aman, meaning, and he stayed among them 1,000 years, less 50 years. This example is useful because it shows a large number expression working in a real Quranic sentence, bigger combined numbers. Then the slide gives two large number examples. 6,543 male students, 6,543 female students. The Arabic forms show how Arabic builds a large number by combining units, tens, hundreds, and thousands. This section is teaching students that once they know the smaller rules properly, larger numbers become a matter of building step by step. So the message here is, do not be scared by a big number. Break it down into its parts. Now we move to the final section, quick test. This section is very useful because it checks whether students have understood the earlier rules correctly. Let us go through them one by one. 1 pen. Qalamun wahidun. This is correct for 1 pen. Why? Because with 1, the noun comes first, and the number comes after it as a sifa, agreeing with it. 11 men. Ahada ashara rajulan. This is correct. Why? Because with 11, the ma'dud is singular mansub, and both parts of the number agree with the masculine counted noun. 33 students. Thalathatun wa thalathuna taliban. This follows the rule of numbers joined with wow. The ma'dud is singular mansub. 4 kafir. Arba'atu kuffarin. This is using the 3 to 10 rule. Number first, madud plural, and gender opposition. 12 women. Ithnata, ashrata, imra'atan. This follows the rule for 12. Both parts agree with the madud, and the madud is singular mansub. 100 watches. Mi'atu sa'atin. This follows the 100 rule. Mi'a in idafa, counted noun singular and majrur. 2 bags. Hakibatani, ithnatani. This follows the 2 rule. Noun first, number after. Agreement like sifa. 5 chairs. Kamsatu karasi. This follows the 3 to 10 rule. Number first. Madud plural. Gender opposition. 1,000 months. Alfu sharin. Again, this follows the 1,000 rule. Counted noun singular. And majrur. 3 houses. Thalathatu buyutin. This is from the 3 to 10 pattern. Number first. Plural madud, and gender opposition. 45 students. Kamsatun wa arba'una Taliban. This is from the joined number pattern. Unit plus waw plus tens. Madud singular mansub. 2,000 months. Alpha Shahrin. This follows the dual style pattern for thousand, counted nouns singular, and majrur. Now let us bring the whole slide together. This slide teaches us how to move from the earlier number rules into more practical number construction. First, we learned the compound numbers 21 to 29. Second, we reviewed the ukud 20, 30, 40 up to 90, and the very important rule that the machdud remains singular mansub. Third, we saw that even large numbers can be built step by step once the smaller rules are understood. And finally, the quick test reminded us that Arabic numbers do not all follow one pattern. Different number groups have different rules. So a useful memory line for this slide is small numbers, teen numbers, tens, and hundreds do not all behave the same way. And another is always identify the number group first, then apply its rule to the madud. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.